Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin's worst case scenario, and I'm going to be explaining why exactly it ought to excite you, because the last couple of weeks in cryptocurrency have been very bearish. We cannot deny that. Bitcoin has been very red, and we've seen very big drops in the last couple of weeks in cryptocurrency. May has seen basically nothing but red days. We have a few green candlesticks in here, but as we can see, pretty much the entire month of May has been very red. I believe that that's going to change. That's going to be the opposite in June. I made a video about that yesterday. If you're interested, go watch that. But because the market's been so bearish, of course, the sentiment in the market has also turned very bearish. And I've seen a lot of bearish comments in my comment section. I've seen a lot of people being very bearish in the news. I've seen people at certain conventions talking about how Bitcoin's in a bubble and Bitcoin's going to crash. Guys, I've heard predictions that Bitcoin's going to go to $6,000. I've heard predictions that Bitcoin's going to go to $5,000. Hell, I've even heard predictions that Bitcoin is going to go to $3,000. So in today's video, I want to discuss one of those worst case scenarios for Bitcoin, and I also want to explain to you exactly why institutions are, and you should be, excited for that worst case scenario. But before we get into that, I want to ask you guys to drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed today's video, because guys, I make cryptocurrency videos every single day. YouTube still isn't paying me for this, by the way, so I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart, but mainly because I love reading your comments, so make sure you leave me an awesome comment also. Tell me if you're on Team Bear, if you're on Team Bull, because I'm very interested in what you guys think about that. I might leave a poll up here in the top right, so make sure you click on that if I do have that up there. So let's get right into it. I want to jump into the video by introducing you to something that I posted on my Instagram. Go follow me on Instagram at CryptoJeb. I posted a little picture that said, if you're worried about this pullback, just imagine how those that sold down here feel. And I have a little arrow for this pullback pointing to the one that we're currently in, and an arrow for down here pointing to the one where Bitcoin ran all the way down to $200. Now guys, $200 for Bitcoin sounds very, very cheap, and I'm sure now in hindsight, since hindsight is 2020, we all wish we could go back and buy Bitcoin at $20. Or at $200, excuse me. And I'm sure in a decade, that sentiment is going to be exactly the same, and we're going to wish that we could have come back and bought Bitcoin at $6,000 or $7,000. This didn't even happen a decade ago. About 4 years ago, Bitcoin was worth around $200, and it ran all the way to $20,000, excuse me. That is a 100x return in the span of about 4 years. And I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen again in Bitcoin in the next 4 years, but I do believe within a decade, Bitcoin's going to be worth 6, maybe even 7 figures if it can retain 20 to 50% market dominance, if it can keep its dominance around where it is now, which I'm not totally convinced it will, but that doesn't mean that you can't also make gains in the altcoin market, but we're talking about Bitcoin here just for simplicity. Now guys, the reason I wanted to show you this is just to point out that that's a very important thing. Now, like I said, I do expect Bitcoin to run to large valuations within the next decade. I believe within the next decade, Bitcoin is probably going to be worth at least $50, $100, maybe $200, $300, $400,000. It may even be worth $1 million before the end of 15 years, before 15 years have elapsed from when I made this video. I made a video talking about Bitcoin going to $1 million and why that's actually statistically, mathematically very possible, because some of these commodity markets have already done what Bitcoin will end up doing in the next 20 years. So Bitcoin definitely can run to $1 million. That's linked up here if you guys are interested in how Bitcoin can actually do that. But then in the next decade, Bitcoin, I do believe, will be worth somewhere in the 6 or 7 figures. So let's talk about where Bitcoin was a decade ago from right now. Let's talk about where Bitcoin was a decade ago right now so that we can get a little bit of perspective for what Bitcoin can do in a decade, shall we? Well, if we come over here to the Genesis block definition on Investopedia, we can see when Bitcoin was first created. And, oh, what is this? When Satoshi Nakamoto began mining the Genesis block on January 3rd, 2009. Yes, that's right. Bitcoin was created in 2008, but it was first mined in 2009. The market became active in 2009. So Bitcoin is not even a decade old yet, guys. I talk about this in a lot of videos. Having perspective is one of the most important things you can have when you're trading. Guys, statistically speaking, most of you guys, well north of 90% of you guys, are going to be alive in a decade. And statistically speaking, a lot of you guys are going to be very healthy in a decade, especially if you take care of your health, which I most certainly recommend you do. But a lot of you guys are going to be around in a decade. And a decade ago, Bitcoin didn't even exist. The blockchain itself didn't even exist. It came into creation 9.5 years ago in 2 days. So the fact of the matter is Bitcoin can go a very long way in 10 years. If we come out here to the chart and we look at Bitcoin, I mean, this chart only goes back to 2013, which is only 6 years ago. Excuse me, it's only 5 years ago. Bitcoin ran from around $65 to $20,000 in the span of a decade. This, I can't tell because TradingView isn't going to tell me since the market doesn't even go this far back, but I'm estimating 2010 to be right around here. And this is right where this is right this vertical line represents a decade after Bitcoin was created. As we can see, Bitcoin ran a very, very long way. It ran from like $0 when the market was first created all the way to $20,000. So let's talk about where Bitcoin could be in a decade from now. If we zoom out on our chart here, we're on the month chart. If we zoom out, this represents 1 decade from today, the 1st of June of 2028. Now, Bitcoin ran from $20 to $20,000 in the span of 5 years. So where do we believe that Bitcoin could go in the next 10 years? Oh my gosh, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency moves very, very fast, and I think we can all agree that that is going to be a very big valuation by that time. I've talked about in a lot of videos where I think Bitcoin's going to go in long term, but I think Bitcoin's at least going to go back to all-time high in 2018 or maybe the first half of 2019, and I do expect Bitcoin to be worth like 6 figures within 3 years of now, and a lot of people in the cryptocurrency market that are very bearish, or very bullish rather, also believe that. John McAfee made a tweet a long time ago that is absolutely famous. He said that he would eat his manlyhood if Bitcoin did not go to $500,000 by 2020, I think it was. You correct me if I'm wrong on that quote, but he said something to that effect. So there are a lot of people that definitely believe Bitcoin can run to that. And like I said, I'm not going to go too much into that because I do have a video linked up here talking about how Bitcoin can mathematically and statistically, based on other markets, based on like commodity markets, go to $1 million. It may not happen in the next decade, but if it retains a large amount of market dominance, it most certainly can. And Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, you also have to realize, are still in their infancy. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I say this in a lot of videos also, I'm kind of rehashing some things in this video to drill my point home. They are going to revolutionize the way that we do finance. They're going to revolutionize all kinds of industry. Blockchain technology is already touching tons of industries. It's touching video games. It's touching all kinds of things. It's touching the financial sector, obviously. Smart contracts on blockchains can be used for just about anything. You take the concept of escrow and you move it to literally anything. That is an extremely powerful technology that is going to do a lot of good for the world. So Bitcoin and blockchain technology have not even taken off yet. The mainstream media hardly ever talks about them. They did a little bit because Bitcoin ran up like 20 times in 2018 or 2017. So it got a little bit of hype, but it's nowhere near mass adoption. Mass adoption is when you hear when everybody on the planet knows what a cryptocurrency is, just the same way they know what fiat currency is. That's mass adoption, and you and I can both agree that we're nowhere near that. So whether it be Bitcoin or another altcoin, Bitcoin can definitely run to $1 million within the next 20 years. So let's scroll out and see where the next 20 years is. I have another marker over here it's actually 22 years, but this is 2040. This is 2040. This is the first day of the month of January for 2040. So this is where 2040 is. And guys, like I said earlier, you guys are most likely going to be around in 2040. Now, statistically speaking, it's sad, some of you won't, but the vast majority of the people I'm speaking to, you in particular, person listening to this video, are probably going to be around in 20 years. And if an investment is a good investment in the short term, because it's going to do great things, it's probably also a good investment in the long term. That's not always true, of course. Some things are pump and dump schemes. But just because Bitcoin is a good investment in the short term does not also mean that it's not a good investment in the long term. It most certainly is because of everything I just outlined. So the fact of the matter is I expect the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets to be bullish for at least the next 10 to 15 years. So if you're investing for the next couple of weeks, you're not an investor, you're a trader. If you're an investor like I am, I'm a trader also, but I'm an investor long term. I have some positions that I'm not going to cash out for at least a decade, because I expect some of my positions like EOS and Litecoin and Ethereum and Bitcoin and a little bit of XRP to do very, very well. And if they don't, some of them will. So the fact of the matter is that Bitcoin can run to $1 million based on the valuation of other commodities markets. And also, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are going to be around for a very long time, as are you. Let's scroll up here and see exactly where $100,000 is on the chart. So this is 2040. If you're 40 or if you're 20 years old right now, you'll be 42 then. That's still pretty young based on the average life expectancy being like 80 in most developed countries now. So that's pretty young. You still have many decades to live after that. And if you're investing now and you cash out then, you're going to be making a lot of money. Even if Bitcoin only 5x's, that's still a pretty good return. So if Bitcoin runs to $100,000, this is what the chart would look like. We would see the chart go and then we run up here somewhere, do something like that, you know. If Bitcoin were to run to $1 million, which like I've said many times is very, very possible. People think I'm joking, but it is absolutely very possible. If Bitcoin were to run to $1 million, say by 2050, and we scroll out, and we scroll out, and we zoom out, and then hey, we found the line that I wrote up here at $10 million for a video I did a long time ago. This is the entire history of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. This is the entire history of the market. Every dollar you have gained and lost in the market, unless you were here before 2013, which some of you may have been, every single dollar, every single Satoshi that you have ever made happened in this tiny, tiny, tiny little market. So the fact of the matter is, you will probably be around in 2040 or 2050. And Bitcoin absolutely can go to $1 million because that would leave us with around a $20 trillion market cap, which is not very large considering that some of the stock markets for single countries have that much valuation. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that Bitcoin will go to $1 million, but it'll probably go to at least $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 within the next couple of decades. And it may go higher. It depends on the dominance. It depends on a lot of factors, but I'm opening your eyes to where Bitcoin can go. So let's go back to what I was talking about originally in this video. What happens with the worst case scenario for Bitcoin? Well, if we zoom in here to the hour chart, oh no, if Bitcoin goes to 3,000 or something, that's a 50% retracement. That sucks. Well, guess what? If that's a 50% retracement from where we are now, let's say Bitcoin goes to $3,600. That's around a 50% retracement. $3,700, that's around a 50% retracement from where we are now. And you buy in down there instead of up here, well, then when it goes to $1 million, you're going to make twice as much money. If you were to buy now and it goes to $1 million, you'll make whatever percentage. If you buy it 50% cheaper, you're going to make 100% more. There's a lot of money to be made when you're buying cheap, and I think the bottom is right behind us. I think we are close to the bottom here, unless we break bearish out of this consolidation pattern. But if Bitcoin goes down and it crashes, you and the institutions are the people that ought to be buying. A lot of people are going to be running from the market, as they did back here when Bitcoin was down at $200. But guess who made the most money in the Bitcoin market? Guess who made the most money in the cryptocurrency market? The people down here in a bear market who saw what I see and said, oh my gosh, this technology is still in its infancy. It can go to the freaking moon. And people were buying down here, obviously, because the bull market started. People that can see the long-term future and can see trends coming before they form are the people that are successful in this world. Let me repeat that. People that can see trends coming and can see trends forming, and the ones that actually get in on those trends and actually use them to their advantage are the people that are successful in this world. There's not very many investments that you can get 100x return in the span of just 4 years. You're not going to get that in the stock market unless you get some crazy stock. You're not going to get, unless you bought like Uber stock right after it launched, you're not going to get that kind of return. Unless you bought, and you're not going to get that in real estate, you're not going to get that from your job, you're not going to get that from anywhere. So what you need to do is you need to be able to see the long-term picture, you need to see the big picture, you need to see where markets are going, you need to see trends before they form, and you need to get on those trends before they form. And you're going to be a very successful person if you can successfully do that. And the people that bought down here when Bitcoin was at $200 and everybody was freaking out and trying to guess, where's the bottom, where's the bottom? They bought and they made a ton of money if they held on and they knew what they were doing. Even if they only sold at a 10x return, that's a massive return. That's a big deal. So guys, I want you guys to stop worrying about where's the exact bottom, because calling the exact bottom does mean you'll make more money. But if you're investing for the long term and you're investing for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to be around then. You know, the odds of you getting hit by a bus tomorrow are very, very low. I think you're going to be around in the next 5, 10 years, and you're going to be around to cash that out. Just statistically speaking, you most likely are. So invest in your future. I'm not telling you to buy Bitcoin. I'm telling you to buy into a market that I think is going to do very, very, very well over the next 5, 10, 20 years. And if I'm wrong, hey, come tell me. I'll be old. You'll be old. We can both go have a beer or something, and you can tell me how wrong I was. But I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, guys, I think I've made my point very, very clear in today's video. Make sure to tell me in the comments section if you're on Team Bull or if you're on Team Bear. I'm definitely on Team Bull for the long term. For the short term, I'm also on Team Bull. If you're interested in that, I have a video yesterday talking about why I think June is going to be an extremely bullish month for the cryptocurrency space. But anyway, guys, I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you can be updated every single time that I post a new video, and because it also helps out the channel. Make sure you leave a comment with Team Bear or Team Bull, like I said, because I love reading your comments. But anyway, guys, I've been rambling enough. I want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.